All right, in this video we are going to talk about transferring our drawing onto the metal paper. And just as a quick review, what I did is on a 6x9 piece of paper, we put together a word. I had asked that you come up with a positive word or something that means, good things to you, 3 to 5 letters, and then divide your background into all different sections. When you divide the background, it does not have to be straight lines like I used here. This is a second example I have where you can see I did curvy lines. So whatever works for you. I'm going to use this one though. And so now that I have it all broken up, I don't know exactly what I'm using in the background sections, but I can do that later as I move on to the second stage here. So what I'm going to do is just lay it over the top. And the supplies that I have are basically a pencil. I have a tool that's going to help me with the bossing or putting lines and grooves in. And I do also have some newspaper here. Now, the thing about the newspaper is there's times when I'm going to need it for cushion. And there's times that I'm going to want to use the desk surface because it's a little bit harder and firmer. So, in fact, right now I'm going to start with just the desk surface. So let me slide my things up here. All right. So I'm laying this down, and tape would be really handy right now to just tape this down. I don't have any, and I feel pretty confident I can go ahead and transfer this without tape because I'm going to just hold it down. And so either way, but you do want to make sure that you're holding this firmly while you are transferring your image. And I'm going to just use a pencil, and I'm going to go around my lines with a decent amount of pressure. I'm not worried about pushing really, really hard, but I do need to put a little bit of pressure on there. And so I'll just go around my letters and the background lines. And again, I'm always holding it with one hand so the paper doesn't move. Go slowly as you do this. It's not a race and it's not rushing. All right, so I got my word done. Now I'm going to come in and do the background lines. And instead of doing all of these lines for the video, I'm just going to do a couple of them for you. I notice this one is off just a little bit, so I'll change it up a little bit. All right, so I think that's plenty. You get the idea of tracing these. And again, I would do all of them if I was going to use this as my final, but this is just my demonstration piece. And I see I forgot to do this section again, the middle of my P area there. So, okay. So, let's just pretend we traced it all, and you can see a very faint outline for my letters and the lines that I traced. So the next step is with a pencil or with your tool, you're going to go over these lines again. And so again, I'm still working on a hard surface because I want these lines to really show up. So I'm just going to take this tool and push down. And again, you don't want to go so hard that you cause a hole in the paper, but it doesn't take a lot to just create a bit of an indent that is much more noticeable than when I transferred it with a pencil. All right, so if I hold that in the light just right, you can see the H is showing up better than the O, the P, and the E. But that's what you're going to do is transfer all of these lines with a pencil or with your tool. The next step is then to start designing it. And I am going to leave my letters alone. I'm going to leave them as a very flat, smooth surface. Whereas the other lines that I do, I'm going to go ahead and make them much more noticeable. So couple of things we want to talk about is how do we make our lines show up? And this is where I'm going to pull in my newspaper. When I use the newspaper, it gives me a little more flexibility on what I do here. For example, what I did on my final here, and we'll refer back to this a couple of times, is I really wanted my section lines to show up here. So you don't have to do this. This is just an idea, something to give you a suggestion on, a tip. And that's where I outlined with a line on the top of my picture. And then I double lined it. So I just went away from it just a little bit to create a thick outline. And so you can see that. Now then what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to go over where in between those two lines right there, I'm going to push that down. Okay, so I say push down, but actually what I'm doing is I'm pushing it up, because when I flip this back over, I now have a raised line. All right, remember I pushed down on the top and then I flipped it over, and in between the two lines I'm now pushing down. So I create a raised area. And so that is what I did with all of my major lines that went through. And then I did some other designs, and I want you to come up with all different designs in the background. These should be kind of the Zentangle pattern that we did with our folder. Let me see if I can get in here just a little bit more. My lighting is not too good here, guys. And let's get the stand to work with me here a little bit. Okay, so a couple of things. Aha, maybe I can get some lighting from my other lamp. Maybe. All right, we'll work with this area right here. So what you can do is you can carve on the front, but I have found that it actually works really well to carve on the back. So I'm going to show you a couple of things here. Let's see here. I'm going to do a half circle shape. So I'm going to do just carving in like this. And then inside of these, well, let's do them kind of like a watermelon piece without the seeds. So I'm going to go ahead and do some of these. Now it's really reflecting in the camera here. Let's see what it looks like on the front side. Oh yeah, see, it's reflecting there too. So that's kind of a fun design, and it's very raised right now. So I have the option of leaving it as is. You can also play around with it. I'd be real careful because it's hard to erase here. But you can take your tool and you can go in and push it down just a little bit more if you want to. It doesn't make a lot of difference, but I can definitely see there's a little bit of going in concave right there and not so much here. So these are just some ideas. I'm going to move this around and see if we can view it a little bit better as I get into the lighting here. Come up with some fun ideas here. This one's probably my favorite, and all I did was I poked holes. Well, excuse me, not poked holes, but poked it with a tool. So I took it, and I took my point, and I just went in little circles and caused little circular indents, and it's really kind of a neat texture that you can see on the front. Okay. This is one that I did diamond shapes. These are some swirls, and these were just lines that I did. I do believe on this one I just did it on the front and went with, you know, carved into the front. Whereas this one I did it from the back, okay, so that it would stick up on the front. So we're going to do our whole background with different patterns and textures, and I want you to have fun with it.